Guy Fieri's job on TV often looked simple: taste food, give a reaction, and keep the show moving. But behind all the success, his life and family story had many challenges, surprising choices, and lessons that shaped who he is today. Guy Fieri built a $25 million food empire starting from nothing but a small pretzel cart and a love for bold flavors. But in 2025, during Hunter's wedding speech, his sons revealed something that shocked fans everywhere. Guy had a strict rule that he never talked about publicly: his children would not inherit anything from him unless they earned 2 college degrees first. No automatic money, no restaurants, no special family privileges. Hunter, Ryder, and even his youngest, who is still growing up, all understood the same rule: they needed to prove themselves before receiving anything from their father's hard work. According to his sons, Guy's real parenting style is tough but full of love. He believes in independence, responsibility, and earning your place. Hearing the boys describe their father's values made people see Guy in a new way, not just as a fun TV personality but as someone deeply committed to teaching strength and discipline. Guy Ramsey Fieri was born on January 22, 1968, in Columbus, Ohio. His father, Louis James Fieri, worked in the fabric industry, and his mother, Penelope Ann Price, stayed home to raise the family. When Guy was only 2, they moved to Ferndale, California, a small, peaceful town surrounded by greenery, foggy mornings, and farmland. The quiet life there helped shape his early connection to food. His parents were health food fans long before it became trendy. They cooked simple meals: steamed fish, brown rice, very little sugar, and almost no seasoning. Growing up on such plain food is likely what pushed Guy later toward bold, intense flavors. He didn't enjoy bland food. He wanted food that had personality. When Guy turned 10, everything changed. He asked his dad to help him build a pretzel cart. They created a small 3-wheeled cart and called it the Awesome Pretzel Cart. Guy began selling hot pretzels for 25 cents in downtown Ferndale. He was determined and creative even as a child. At one point, he climbed into a dumpster behind a Lake Tahoe ski lodge to find the brand name of the pretzels so he could contact the supplier. His small business lasted 6 years, and he earned over $3,000 by the time he was 14. Instead of spending the money on fun or toys, he saved it. It was his first real experience with hard work, money, and responsibility. Life wasn't easy, though. When Guy was 12, he had a terrible dirt bike accident in Humboldt County. His parents were backpacking in Europe, so his guardian had to sign for his emergency surgery. Guy suffered serious internal injuries, broken bones, and a scar that stretched from his belly button to his chest. He eventually healed, but the experience stayed with him forever. It taught him courage and patience during painful times. Cooking entered his life slowly but naturally. His parents believed everyone should help with chores, so Guy often had to prepare his own meals. Instead of complaining, he got interested. He read cookbooks from the library and practiced techniques at home. He even experimented with local crab, trying out French-style cooking methods long before he studied anything formally. By age 14, he added root beer floats to his pretzel business to attract more customers. Around that same time, his father's business began to struggle, and Guy handed over half of his savings to help his family. That moment changed him. He learned what it meant to step up, sacrifice, and support the people you love. In 1983, he tried a new business selling custom skateboards at the county fair. It failed, and he lost $200. Instead of feeling defeated, he studied what went wrong. He learned the importance of planning and asking smart questions before starting something new. At 16, Guy went abroad to France as a foreign exchange student. He lived in Chantelle, a town just north of Paris. While there, he discovered foods he had only read about: crepes, escargot, gourmet pastries. His host family introduced him to wine tastings and encouraged him to learn about European dining traditions. This trip changed his life. He realized how much he loved blending different cultures and flavors together. One night, he tried to impress his host family with a flambéed dessert. He poured too much brandy, and the flames exploded across the counter. The smoke alarm went off, neighbors ran over, and he ended up grounded for a week. But instead of feeling embarrassed, he became fascinated with risky cooking techniques. He wanted to get better, not give up. Back in California, Guy returned to his usual hustle. During high school, he started making pizzas in his garage every Friday night, $5 per slice. He added creative toppings, mixed flavors, and experimented constantly. Before long, students were lining up outside. His garage turned into a small food hangout. He wasn't just a wrestler on the school team, he was becoming known as the kid who could cook anything. In 1985, he missed his prom because he had to cater a local event. His girlfriend ended their relationship because of it. The heartbreak hurt, but it also motivated him. He realized that his passion for food was stronger than anything else in his life. After graduating high school in 1986, he bought a used van to start a mobile food service. Unfortunately, the van broke down only 20 miles outside of town. He spent the night inside, cold and stuck, with raw ingredients that should have been served hours earlier. He eventually got the van fixed and made it to his event, but the experience taught him the importance of backup plans. A few years earlier, during his trip to France, Guy had bought real saffron, one of the most expensive spices in the world. He was afraid customs officers would confiscate it, so he hid it in his socks. He later laughed about it and called it his first flavor heist, but it also showed how passionate he was about finding the best ingredients. In 1986, he attended UNLV to study hotel management. But his real learning happened at the casino buffet where he worked. He watched chefs create dishes, memorized their spice combinations, and practiced at night. He collected knowledge wherever he could find it. In 1988, he nearly failed a food science project when too much yeast caused dough to explode in the lab. Instead of giving up, he wrote a long report explaining dough chemistry and earned an A for his efforts. This was another example of how Guy always turned mistakes into lessons. During an internship in Long Beach in 1989, he created spicy garlic fries that became extremely popular. When he insisted the restaurant serve bigger portions to customers, the head chef disagreed. They argued, and Guy was fired. But the fries remained on the menu and even spread to other local restaurants. In the end, his idea won. During his summers at UNLV, he ran a hot dog stand at the beach and earned about $10,000 each year. In 1988, health inspectors found problems: unclean cutting boards and weak refrigeration. Guy paid the fine, fixed everything, and turned the stand into a healthier, safer business model. It became known as an example of how student-run food stands should operate. For his senior thesis in 1990, Guy wrote about American-Italian fusion food and predicted that bold, messy, loaded dishes would one day become popular. His professors didn't take him seriously and called the idea too gimmicky. But years later, those same kinds of dishes filled menus across the country. Guy was simply ahead of his time. After graduating, he applied to 3 top culinary schools and was rejected by all of them. Instead of quitting, he created a 50-page booklet called Budget Gourmet Hacks, filled with cheap recipes and cooking tips. He sold it at flea markets for $2 and slowly built a small local following. It helped rebuild his confidence and set the foundation for his future career. By 1993, at age 25, Guy opened his first restaurant, Johnny Garlic's, in Santa Rosa. It was his dream, but the timing was rough because the country was in a recession. Some nights, only a couple of tables were filled. Guy lived in a small room in the back of the restaurant to save money. He worked every position: chef, cleaner, marketer, and manager. He adjusted the menu constantly, trying to find what customers loved the most. By 1995, things finally started improving. He and his partner, Laurie Bissell, who he married that same year, borrowed $50,000 and opened a second location in Roseville. That same year, he created his now famous donkey sauce, a garlicky spread that customers couldn't stop talking about. It later became one of the signature pieces of his brand. Back then, though, it was simply another attempt to make their restaurant stand out in a competitive market. His business partner, Steve Grubber, continued supporting him during these years, helping secure opportunities and keep the restaurants running. Together, they built the early foundation of what would later become Guy Fieri's multimillion-dollar empire. But by 2011, The business partnership between Guy Fieri and Steve Gruber began to fall apart. What had once been a strong friendship slowly turned into conflict, and eventually into something neither of them ever expected. Gruber filed a lawsuit claiming that Guy had taken $200,000 from their restaurant operations and put it toward his growing television career without permission. The lawsuit dragged on for a long time. It created stress for everyone involved, the staff, the managers, and both families. Their restaurants suffered. Their relationship suffered even more. Something that had once been built on trust, shared dreams, and years of hard work ended painfully and publicly. By 2019, every Johnny Garlic's location had closed. A place that once symbolized Guy's early hustle was gone because of disagreements and broken trust. Long before Guy became famous on national TV, he met Laurie while managing a restaurant in Long Beach. She wasn't just someone he fell in love with, she became his biggest supporter. She believed in his restaurant vision and stood beside him through every risk, every struggle, and every late night. The $50,000 loan they took together to open the second Johnny Garlic's location was a huge financial gamble, but it paid off. Roseville customers quickly fell in love with Guy's bold recipes, fun atmosphere, and the unforgettable donkey sauce that became a signature item. Laurie worked behind the scenes managing paperwork, branding, and operations. Guy brought the flavor and personality to the front of the house. Together, they made a perfect team. Guy later admitted openly that without Laurie, none of it would have been possible. Their shared determination became the base for everything that came after. In 1996, Guy wanted to try something bold and unusual, so he launched Tex Wasabi's in Sacramento, a fusion restaurant mixing sushi with American barbecue. It was a wild idea, and for a while, customers loved it. But in 1998, something serious happened. Undercooked beef tacos caused an E. coli outbreak. The health department stepped in immediately. They forced the restaurant to recall $100,000 worth of food. It damaged the restaurant's reputation and almost shut everything down for good. Guy had to rebuild from scratch. He simplified the menu, strengthened safety procedures, retrained staff, and worked hard to regain customer trust. It was a painful moment that affected his business, confidence, and finances. But he didn't quit. The experience taught him how important food safety really is, and that lesson stayed with him forever. Around 1997, he tried stepping into television for the first time. A local California TV station invited him to do a cooking segment demonstrating pretzel bacon bites. Guy showed up with his signature blonde spikes and high energy. After the segment aired, the station received around 5,000 calls from viewers, far more than anyone expected. People loved him. But even with that strong reaction, the network executives still passed on him. They said his look was too much. Guy felt disappointed, but the experience gave him hope. The audience clearly connected with him, even if the decision-makers didn't see it yet. In 1998, another setback arrived. A pipe burst inside one of the Johnny Garlic's locations and flooded the restaurant. The damage totaled around $150,000 in lost equipment and food. Instead of bringing in a cleanup crew, Guy rolled up his sleeves and did the work himself. He pulled out soaked furniture, removed ruined flooring, and scrubbed the walls until midnight for days. Later, he called the disaster his Flavortown baptism, a moment that nearly broke him, but also taught him to handle chaos head-on. From then on, whenever something went wrong, he reminded himself to fix it, not fear it. Finally, in 2006, Guy got the chance he had been waiting for. His friends kept encouraging him to audition for the next Food Network star, but he didn't take it seriously at first. When he finally submitted an audition tape, it almost didn't make it. The DVD wouldn't play in the office. One casting director accidentally dropped it while leaving work and took it home. By chance, she decided to try watching it there. She ended up watching it twice. Guy was skateboarding, cooking burgers, cracking jokes, and showing the same lively energy that would later make him famous. Something about him stood out immediately, and she called her team the next morning. When the casting director watched Guy's audition tape at home, she knew right away that he was different. His energy, humor, and love for food weren't like anything they normally saw. It wasn't the usual polished TV personality, it was simply Guy being Guy. That genuine personality is what got him a call back. On April 23, 2006, he flew to New York to compete in the finale of the next Food Network star. His final dish was lobster-stuffed ravioli. Some judges thought it was a bit over the top, while others thought it was bold and creative. In the end, Guy won. He beat 16 other contestants and earned a 6-episode contract. That moment changed his entire life. Just a few weeks later, his first show, Guy's Big Bite, premiered on June 25, 2006. It pulled in 1.2 million viewers on its very first episode. The show became a major part of Food Network's identity and ran for 13 seasons, all the way until 2016. But the journey wasn't always easy. Producers didn't like his phrase Flavor Town. They thought it sounded silly and wanted him to stop using it. Guy refused. They pushed again. He stood his ground and said he would walk away from the show if they tried to silence his personality. In the end, they allowed him to keep it, and Flavortown became one of the most memorable parts of his brand. That moment showed how important authenticity was to him. During this time, he rapidly expanded Johnny Garlic's, growing the restaurant from 1 location to 6. Success brought new challenges. At one point, a spice supplier tricked him into signing a contract that overcharged him by $75,000. It was a hard lesson. From that day forward, Guy began checking every detail of every contract. He realized he wasn't just a chef anymore, he also had to think like a business owner. When his son Ryder was born on December 31, 2005, Guy's mindset shifted again. Winning the TV show made him think deeply about his future and the life he wanted to create for his children. He began talking about saving money, building memories, and giving his kids opportunities he never had. The man who once slept inside his own restaurant to save money was now thinking about long-term security for his family. That new purpose shaped many of his choices. In 2007, Diners, Drive-ins and Dives premiered. The first episode visited simple roadside diners across Texas, Maine, and California. No one knew the show would become a phenomenon. By 2025, it had passed 1,000 episodes and highlighted more than 500 restaurants across all 50 states. The formula was simple: Guy arrived, tasted everything, celebrated the chefs, and brought joy into every kitchen he visited. Viewers loved it. It became one of the most beloved food shows ever created. But success didn't shield him from controversy. In 2011, David Page, one of the show's producers, filed a lawsuit against Food Network and accused Guy of making insensitive comments off camera. Some claims said he had made remarks about gay people or repeated stereotypes about Jewish people. Guy denied everything. The network said the accusations were exaggerated. The case was settled privately, and both supporters and critics spoke out. It was a difficult time, but Guy stayed focused on his work, and the show continued to thrive. By 2010, restaurants that appeared on Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives saw huge boosts in sales, often between 30% and 50%. One cheesesteak shop in Philadelphia was barely surviving. After filming there, Guy personally invested $50,000 to help them upgrade the kitchen and add new menu items. The business became profitable within months. The owner said Guy had truly saved the restaurant. He didn't do it for publicity, it was just who he was. In 2012, he teamed up with Rachel Ray for Rachel vs. Guy, Celebrity Cook-Off. Together, they coached celebrities who were cooking for charity. Guy's Volcano Nachos became a huge hit during the series. The show won an Emmy and brought in many new viewers who didn't usually watch cooking programs. It ran for several seasons, and Guy's team won often. People began to see him not only as a fun TV host, but also as an encouraging mentor. Then, in 2013, he launched Guy's Grocery Games. It featured chefs racing through a full supermarket built inside a studio while trying to cook under pressure. The fast pace and playful spirit made it a fan favorite. By 2025, the show had aired over 40 seasons and developed a loyal fan base. But the constant filming took a toll. In 2014, after working more than 200 days straight, Guy collapsed from exhaustion. Doctors warned him that he needed to slow down, rest, and spend more time with his family. He later admitted that he had pushed himself too hard and forgotten to care for his own health. That experience changed him. He created boundaries, made more time for his kids, and brought more balance into his life. He said it was one of the most important wake-up calls he ever had. In 2015, he released Flavortown sauces at Walmart. The product line became an instant success and brought in $10 million in its first year. However, the following year a labeling mistake forced a $2 million recall. Thousands of bottles had to be taken off shelves. Guy apologized, fixed the problem, and moved forward. Fans stayed loyal, and the brand recovered quickly. In 2018, he co-founded a winery named Hunt and Ride, inspired by his sons' names, Hunter and Ryder. The winery focused on bold, high-quality red wines. In 2020, wildfires swept through Sonoma and destroyed about 20% of their grapes. It was heartbreaking, but Guy and his team worked hard to rebuild. The damage came to nearly $500,000, but even that didn't stop Guy's family. They rebuilt the vineyard, replanted what they lost, and kept moving forward together. Strength, not setbacks, became their rhythm. Then in 2021, Guy signed an $80 million Food Network deal, the biggest ever for a cable TV chef. With that momentum, he branched out again, this time into tequila. Santo Tequila, co-founded with Sammy Hagar, hit a rough patch in 2022 when a major flood destroyed thousands of bottles. But the team pulled through, recovered, and still sold over 1 million bottles that year. In 2023, Guy's chance of a lifetime gave struggling restaurant owners a shot at rebuilding their dreams. In Detroit, one beloved soul food spot reopened under Guy's guidance and quickly drew crowds again. But in 2025, the chef running it filed a lawsuit, saying the promised $100,000 salary never came. The restaurant shut down the next year. It was deeply disappointing, not just financially, but emotionally, too. Family hardships shaped Guy just as much as professional storms. In 2011, he lost his younger sister, Morgan, to metastatic melanoma. She was only 38. Her son, Jules, was just 11. Guy and Laurie stepped in immediately. They moved the entire family to Santa Rosa, not for scenery, but for stability. They wanted Jules to feel rooted, supported, and safe. That loss changed all of them. Over the years, Jules found his path studying music management at Loyola Marymount, interning at Guy's events, and slowly building his future. Pain turned into purpose. Grief into growth. But challenges didn't always come from inside the family. In 2007, a fatal drunk driving accident happened near one of Guy's restaurants. Even though he wasn't involved, the media rushed to connect his name with the tragedy. For weeks, rumors spread while Guy stayed quiet and let the process unfold. When police cleared him, he said the experience shook his trust in the justice system and reminded him how quickly a reputation can be put at risk. Through all this, Guy and Laurie kept their marriage steady, but it wasn't always easy. By 2000, Guy's 80-hour work weeks strained their relationship. Laurie felt alone, raising the kids while Guy was always away. Therapy helped them find their footing again. It taught them communication, patience, and the value of choosing each other even when things were heavy. Guy later said it was one of the most important decisions they ever made. After Morgan passed, Jules became more like a third son. They supported him through school, through grief, and into adulthood. He worked at music events, earned real experience, and in 2025 graduated again, this time with a Master of Legal Studies from Loyola Law School. He didn't want to be a lawyer, just someone who understood contracts and could protect himself in the industry. Guy praised him publicly for his persistence. Now, Jules was building his own agency, piece by piece, just like the rest of the family had done. In 2021, Guy bought a $5 million home in West Palm Beach as a retreat for the family. But in 2022, Hurricane Ian tore through the area and caused $300,000 in damage. It was a painful reminder that even the strongest structures can fall without warning. They rebuilt, but more importantly, they held on to each other through the stress and uncertainty. Then came a much quieter struggle, anxiety. For years, Guy didn't understand why constant pressure made him feel so overwhelmed. In 2024, On the Joe Rogan Experience, he finally spoke about living with undiagnosed anxiety. Therapy helped him recognize it, manage it, and rethink what success meant. That's when he embraced his die broke philosophy, not literally spending everything, but pouring values, work ethic, and purpose into his kids instead of relying on money to shape their futures. August 2025 brought a joyful milestone, Hunter's wedding to pickleball pro Tara Bernstein at the family ranch. The celebration was enormous, 350 guests, a 5-foot cake, and a lineup of Food Network stars that made the night feel magical. The theme was denim and diamonds, perfectly capturing the family's blend of heart and humor. Ryder, just 19, delivered a brilliant best man speech full of clever pauses and inside jokes that had the whole room cheering. Even Guy thought it was AI generated until he double-checked. Ryder's words landed because they were real, thoughtful, and full of love. Hunter earned 2 degrees, one in hospitality from UNLV and an MBA from the University of Miami in 2025. That met Guy's famous rule, 2 degrees, or no cheese. Hunter didn't want shortcuts. He worked on diners, drive-ins, and dives, launched Knuckle Sandwich LLC, and built his place in the family legacy through effort, not entitlement. Ryder made his own bold choices, attending San Diego State instead of UNLV, keeping a 3.7 GPA, playing college basketball, and even turning down a flashy truck from his dad to drive a simple minivan. His independence wasn't rebellious, it was intentional. And Jules kept growing too, blending music, law, and business into a career uniquely his own. Guy stayed firm on his zero inheritance philosophy. He told media outlets in 2025 that he wasn't leaving money, he was leaving discipline, values, and opportunity. The kids didn't just accept it, they lived by it. By 2025, diners, drive-ins and dives had surpassed 1,000 episodes. More than 500 restaurants saw life-changing boosts after being featured, some with lines wrapped around the block for 10 hours. During the pandemic, Guy's foundation donated $20 million to keep small restaurants alive. Rent, payroll, equipment, he helped cover whatever it took to survive. He became more than an entertainer. He became a lifeline. In April 2025, he announced that Hunter would one day take over hosting Guy's grocery games. By 2027, Hunter's MBA sealed his readiness. It wasn't about passing the torch early, it was about passing it wisely. In 2024, Guy's cookbook Holy Smokes Barbecue sold 5 million copies and stayed on the bestseller list for 33 weeks. When plagiarism rumors surfaced online, Food Network commissioned a full review. Everything checked out clean. The book became even more popular. In 2025, he expanded Santo Tequila to Japan and South Korea, investing $10 million and aiming for $100 million in sales by 2027. Hunter and Ryder joined the marketing campaigns, and Guy even voiced a character on Robot Chicken, surprising critics with sharp comedic timing. And then came a tender confession in his memoir that during the early days of Guy's Big Bite, he faked his confidence because of crippling stage fright. What helped him overcome it? Watching Hunter speak confidently at a charity event. His own son taught him how to show up authentically. The persona wasn't an act. It just needed time and the people he loved to grow into something real.